Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Councillor James Pasternak. I'm the Chair of North York Community Council. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, and I'd like to now call meeting 20 to order. Welcome, everybody. This meeting is being held using the city's WebEx technology with members of council participating by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting by video conference. As City Hall remains closed, the public continues to participate electronically and can watch the meeting streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Because we're meeting remotely, we ask for your patience for any delays and technical issues. Of course, we currently have people registered to speak, and we've been connected to the meeting, who have been connected to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be found online by visiting North York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Before we begin, I remind you that the important health and safety measures we must all follow today. Attendance in the room is limited to only those persons who are required at the meeting. A number of clerks, audiovisual, IT are with us today. Members, this is a paperless meeting. The City Clerk has provided all agenda materials on CMP, the Clerk's meeting portal, including any confidential materials. Clerk's IT staff will be available remotely to participants to help with their devices. I'd like to remind staff to keep their mics muted and their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to the committee. This will make it easier for me as chair and for those watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate and vote on items. As part of each agenda item, I ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to ask staff questions or to speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it's their turn to speak. Voting on an item or motion, I ask that members ensure that they turn on their video if applicable and raise their hand to indicate their vote. To ensure that I can see all members, I'd ask to keep your hands raised until I've reviewed all members. Members, I want to remind you, you must still submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at nycc@toronto.ca to help with motions. If there are any visiting members of council attending the meeting today, I encourage you to turn on your video so that I know that you are present and can give you the opportunity to ask questions of staff or speak. This will also assist the clerk's staff to record attendance for the meeting. This year has been a difficult one, particularly for our students who have been working hard and studying hard for their future. Over the past 4 months, some councillors have been hosts to students from the Muslim Youth Fellowship, including my office. This program was delayed due to the pandemic, and once it resumed, it was in a remote environment, meaning the students wouldn't be able to get the full City Council experience. They did, however, persevere and became part of our teams and contributed greatly to our files. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Zubair Ahmed from my office and all the other fellows and their contributions. I wish them all the best in their future endeavors. It was a very successful program. Although we were in different locations and meeting remotely today, the Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga, the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please raise your hand, unmute your mic, and indicate the item or nature of the interest. I see none. Next, we need a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting of November the 4th, 2020. Have someone move those. Councillor Cole, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Councillor Robinson back. It is so great to see you. We certainly missed you here at North York Community Council, your participation, your wisdom. And I understand you'd like to share a few words. She's muted.
Have to get used to the technology. Thank you very much, Chair Pasternak. And I just want to take 1 minute to thank the members of North York Community Council, Councillor Minderwong, Councillor Fillion, Councillor Cole, Councillor Carroll, and of course the Chair Councillor Pasternak. I'm just so grateful for your assistance through the last year, particularly with the North York Community Council items specific to Ward 15. So each and every one of you helped me in a different way with various developments, etc. And my staff liaised closely with you. So I just want to thank you for that. I'm, internally grateful for your support and help because, as you well know, what we do at North York Community Council almost matters most because it directly affects our residents, our communities, our neighborhoods. So just thank you very much for your support, and a special thanks to the chair, Councillor Pasternak, because he did work with my staff monthly on the items before you over the past year. So thank you.
Well,
and welcome back.
Welcome back. It is truly great to see you. And these days we are all looking for good news, and good news is having you back. It is excellent.
Thank you.
So now on to business. Before we move through the agenda, we have a request from the clerk to add 2 new items of business for the election of the chair and vice chair. I know we chit-chatted about that just before the meeting. And then we have several new walk-on items. I've never seen so many, which we'll deal with in a second. So I think we're dealing with the clerk's two items. All we're doing now is asking that they be added to the agenda. So, but we're not proceeding. We're not proceeding with the election of the chair or vice chair. Would someone like to move? First of all, a motion to add them to the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And when it comes to the election of the chair and the vice chair, I think the consensus is we're going to defer it to January.
I'll move deferral. Councillor Cole moving deferral to January.
Councillor Cole is moving deferral to the next scheduled community council meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So I have a number of items in addition to that. So those are taken care of. Reopening an amendment item, North York 12.8 parking amendments, Briar Hill Avenue. Reopening request for fence exception, 2691 Bayview Avenue, that's Ward 15. Representation at the local appeal body for 217 Churchill Avenue. Request representation at the local appeal body 113 Ridley, that's Ward 8. Duke Heights BIA bylaw harmonization. Request for report. North York permit parking, request for report. It's all wards. And seeking clarification about Cummer Station. Now, Councillor Cole, I know there was a desire to put a motion on, and we've just received enormous pushback that it falls out of our catchment, out of our jurisdiction for North York Community Council. You can challenge the chair, which is fine with me. Or we can, I'm wondering whether we can just hold it down for a minute and see whether we amend the motion to that it's applicable to businesses in North York, and then we amended the council to include the whole city. And under our rules of order, that might wiggle by. So do you want to think about that for a few minutes?
Yeah, I just wonder whether you got the latest amended version of that motion.
They did.
Okay, let's hold it then. And,
we can hold it down. Now, under the rules of order, Community Council can make recommendations to Council on city planning and research matters that are not of a citywide interest. So I thought maybe it could squeeze in there if it refers to North York businesses.
Which item is this, James?
So this is a walk-on item. Councillor Cole, do you want to explain what you want to do?
just asking for North York Community Council to ask the City of Toronto Council as a whole to request that the province limit the operation of big box stores so that they are just limited to selling essential items.
I
So
understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand the concern that the councillor has. I just don't think that we should start this practice of dealing with citywide issues in North York Community Council. We do it once, there's going to be more. Anyway, that's just how I feel, James.
Yeah, no, I understand, and it is a problem to put it on the agenda. I understand the issue. I did read through the rules of order. It could wiggle by maybe. Let's just hold it down for now because it's problematic.
Where should it go?
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's an economic development.
Yeah, it would go to economic development or a member's motion to council. It could go to,
Well,
it could go to
I
exec.
would just refer it, but you can hold it down if you want. I understand this, the concern with the councillor. I just don't want to start this practice. I think it's a dangerous and slippery slope we're going to go on.
The only thing is I'd like to hold it down just to talk about it for a couple of minutes because there is an urgency here given our small retailers are basically shut down during this very important month. And that's why if we wait for council to go through everything, it'll be long gone where there are opportunities to recoup some sales is lost. So that's why I thought I'd bring it here because it's been brought to my attention by so many people. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I'm having CMP problems this morning. I'm in the middle of dealing with IT to get connected. May I ask what the nature of the item is? We're talking about the pathway. I missed that.
We were actually in the middle of adding new items, and one of the items that
Yes.
is frozen and
What's the item we're discussing, though?
It was a suggested motion by Councillor Cole that we move a motion. I think it's requesting the province to allow small businesses to open, small non-essential businesses to open with capacity limits. Was that the final wording?
No. Excuse me, Mr. Chair. What I were asking is for North York Community Council to request the Toronto City Council ask the province to basically limit the operation of big box stores to just essential items. For Toronto City Council to consider that, and then if they do agree, then they would ask the province to consider the limiting of the operation of big box stores to essential items.
All right.
Okay, so I had only half heard it, but I believe we can only ask City Council to take on an intergovernmental affair. We can't take it on ourselves. Yeah.
So, Councillor Cole, Economic and Community Development is meeting Monday, and I'm sure...
So we could move it there. That would be because of the urgency of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you gave the chair, Councillor Thompson, a call and asked him, I see no reason why it couldn't be walked on there. Well,
again, I thought it would be helpful if we from North York made a request to the economic development, if we could refer to that committee.
I'm getting a lot of shaking heads around here. Look, let's hold it down for a few minutes and think it through. And move on with the agenda. I support you, Councillor Cole. I think this is what's going on there for these big box stores to be selling non-essential items is outrageous. It's totally outrageous, and it's hurting our independent small businesses.
Can we start the chair's clock?
Yes. No.
I would also say, Mr. Chair.
That's a good idea.
I was in a meeting yesterday. I was in a meeting yesterday with the mayor, with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and with the Retail Council of Canada, and a couple of other, and the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. They all have an interest in this, and walking on items means they don't get to say anything. And I'm not sure whether that's, themselves and other business owners and the public don't get to say anything on something that I think is a matter of public interest.
But we were just referring it to economic development.
No, and you can refer it, but that's why I don't think we should deal with it today.
All right.
Well, there's an urgency here. A lot of people suffering, I'll tell you. doors closing, people getting laid off on Yonge
So move
Street.
your referral motion, and let's get rid of it.
Yes, okay, I'll refer
Can't
to the
go-
committee.
You can't
Yeah.
refer committee to committee, can you? No, no, you
Mr.
can't. You
Mr. Chair,
can't.
that's what I was going to say. You have to, this is an intergovernmental affair, and we can't start playing loosey-goosey with that one procedurally.
Understood, Councillor Carroll. No, I understand. We can't refer from committee to committee. So, Councillor Cole,
This point of order, isn't the community council is not just another committee? We
Yes,
certainly
it-
have
yes, it
jurisdiction
is.
over the standing committees.
No, you don't.
Well, I know if you look at the City of Toronto Act and the creation of it, there's a big difference between a community council, which is a council. Don't forget, it's a council representing, what, 1 million people in North York. I think we have a little bit more jurisdiction than a standing committee.
Mr. Chair, can you either rule on whether it's properly before us or rule?
Yes,
it-
no,
and we'll
thank you.
vote on it?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I'm going to regretfully, deeply regretfully, rule that it cannot be moved onto this agenda. I strongly urge you to bring it to Economic and Community Development. I will wholeheartedly support it at Council. I think it's an important thing to say. And I'll call Councillor Thompson if that helps. But it's an important message that we have to get out. Unfortunately, we just can't bring it here. And it also is the consensus of committee that it might not be fair to the business community because they won't have a chance to depute. And it's not fair. It's also procedurally questionable. So let's not deal with it. Today, I urge you to take it to Economic and Community Development. So let's start working through the agenda here on.
So you're ruling it out of order then?
I am, Councillor Cole.
I'm challenging the chair.
Put that to a vote.
Yes, please.
Recorded vote.
I don't think I've ever been challenged before. Right, so a positive vote is to uphold my ruling. Okay, so all in favor of upholding the chair's ruling that this motion cannot be entered into the agenda? I'll support myself. Councillor Carroll, Councillor Wong, Councillor Robinson, and Councillor Pasternak opposed. Councillor Cole and Councillor Fillion. Chair's ruling is upheld. We won't deal with the matter here, but we'll certainly support it at council. I will. Okay, let's go to the non-timed items. Item 20.6, final report, part lot control exemption application, 15 Mallow Road. Deputy Mayor Wong, this is your item.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Don't love the development. I think it's been a problem for the community, but this is part lot control, and I don't see us having any other choice than moving the recommendations.
Okay, recommendations moved. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 7, 4 and 6 Tippett Road, Public Art Plan. That is my item. I will move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 8, also mine, preliminary report, official plan zoning bylaw amendment, application, rental housing demolition conversion, 824 Shepherd Avenue West, and a series of other addresses. This is merely, I know the community is very concerned about this application, but this is merely organizing a public consultation. I will move the staff recommendations and then be in touch with planning to consult on any kind of expansion of the catchment area. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 9, preliminary report zoning bylaw amendment, lifting of holding provision applications 1755 Steeles Avenue West. So this also is my item. I had some emails late last night about this being on here and the community wanting more say and more consultation. Well, this is exactly what this is. We're going to be scheduling a community consultation. I want to assure the community that no decisions at this meeting are being made on this file. We are merely going out for consultation and hearing what the community has to say. So do I support community consultation? I do support community consultation. So I'd like to move the staff recommend. I do apologize. Apparently there was a speaker on this. It's not a quick item. Is Jeff Kenny on the line?
Okay. So we can just hold it for the speaker.
Is he ready to go? He's not. Okay, so let's hold that
Right.
item. Let's hold that item down. I do apologize, Mr. Kenny. I didn't see you on the list, but you're clearly there. So we're going to hold 20.9 for speakers. 2010. There's a speaker on that. It's Councillor Robinson's. Is a Louis Tinker on the line?
So we're doing the consent agenda right now.
Okay. You want to
Sorry, have we not gone through the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna hold
Let's
that.
finish the whole.
Yeah, no, I understand. We're holding that for speakers. Item 11, Councillor Carroll, preliminary report, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications, 25 Leith Hill Road.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if there are no speakers, I will move that request for consultation.
There are no speakers.
Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I'll move the staff
that item is
recommendations
moved.
in.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 12, preliminary report zoning bylaw amendment 630 to 686 Shepherd Finch Avenue East. Councillor Carroll?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this one needs so much consultation. If I can move it double, I will move it double.
Double. Okay, move double. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 13, Councillor Fillion.
Yes, I'll move the, go ahead.
Yeah, preliminary report, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, applications 2, 4, and 6, Tea Garden Court.
So I'll move the staff recommendations with an additional motion that perhaps the clerk can put on the screen, but I'll read it out. City Council direct that on-site parkland dedication pursuant to Section 42 of the Planning Act be conveyed to the city in the event that the proposal in some form is approved.
All right, you're moving that. It's a motion to organize a community meeting.
Yes, I know. I have the, I'm quite sure the motion is in order.
All right. Okay, let's vote on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item is amended. Organizing the community consultation. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Parking amendments. Stylecroft Drive, that's in my ward. Don't see any deputations. I will move the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Cole, term prohibitions, Avenue Road and Glencairn Avenue. There was a
I'll
speaker.
move staff recommendations.
We have a speaker on that. We'll hold the item down. Councillor Cole, parking amendments, Hilltop Road.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay, parking amendments, Hilltop Road. Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 17, parking amendments, Bellsize Drive. No deputations on that one. Councillor Robinson?
You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Great, thank you, Councillor Carroll. I don't, what item is that? What's the number?
It's number
17.
17, parking amendments,
Oh.
Bellsize
Yes,
Drive.
thank you. Yeah, I'd like to move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 18, traffic and parking regulations, Burkebrook Place. Councillor Robinson? No deputations on the item.
I'd also like to move staff recommendations.
Okay, staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 19, designation of fire routes amendments to Chapter 880, 85 Laird, and 165 Yorkland Boulevard. It's Councillor Robinson and Councillor Carroll. Would either of you like to move the...
Move staff recommendations.
Yes, Councillor Carroll is moving the staff recommendations.
Yep.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 20 is timed.
In 21.
We can do,
We can jump to 27,
we can do some of the new items.
so we just need a motion to add items 27 through 30.
Yeah, the rest of the items are timed except for the new items, which I'd be prepared, if you want, we can do some of those now. So we've disposed of the election, but now we can move to reopening amendment, NY 12.8 parking amendments, Briar Hill Avenue. I thought we added all of these items in a, as a
I don't think
package.
we actually got to voting on that because we got sidetracked with Councillor Cole's item.
Okay. I thought we had moved all these items. The clerk says we did not. Okay, reopening amendment 12, NY 12.8, parking amendments, Briar Hill Avenue, Ward 8.
What number is this on
This
the
is-
agenda?
This is a new item. It's item 27. It's yours, Councillor Cole. You've asked to
Yeah,
reopen this.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, first of all, we have to add it to the agenda.
It's, yeah.
Okay, a motion to add. All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried, it's added. And then a motion to reopen. All those in favor? Opposed, it's carried. So it is on the floor. Councillor Cole, what would you like to do?
I'd like to move staff recommendations.
So Mr. Chair, could I ask a question about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, is it
'Cause
changed
it's
in any way?
actually not it's not a staff recommendation, so maybe the councillor wants to say a couple of words. It's his recommendation.
Well, yeah, oh, sure, I could speak to it, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Cole, would you like to speak to it? Sure.
Well, what it is that we've been dealing with the construction of a new series of stacked townhouses. And so we were trying to deal with the new impact on traffic and parking on Briar Hill. And so staff came up with certain changes to parking, but then the people couldn't get out of their driveways. So staff has come back and consulted with the community and recommended these changes. So that's why it's sort of strange that it's not seen as staff recommendations because we're just following up on staff's suggestions on how to fix the problem.
Okay. You're moving a letter, an amendment to this?
Yes.
Okay, if we can see it on the screen?
Yep. Yep. Bring in a vote. Let's vote. Let's
The
vote.
letter on the screen? What are we voting on?
We have it on the system. We can see it.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Reopening NY 20.28, request for fence exemption, 2691 Bayview Avenue. All those in favor of reopening?
Well, you can't speak to it, can you?
We need to add the item first.
All in favor of adding the item?
No, wait a second. I had a question. I want to ask, can we speak to it?
Yes, once
To
it's,
the motion to reopen.
it's just really, the first vote is to add it to the agenda. The second.
No, I know. We did this last meeting and we kind of we did this extensively. So all I want to say is I'm voting against it because we did a deep dive on this one. And I got nothing else to say or think about. We kind of extensively looked at this and I'd vote against the reopening.
Against adding it to the agenda.
Yeah, Councillor, Deputy Mayor Minawong, you can vote it against adding it to the agenda. We're taking a sober second look. Councillor Robinson is with us this week, so.
I'm just saying we did a big thing on this.
No, we did debate it. That is true. So.
No, we did more than debate it. We asked a lot of questions. We did a lot of thorough examinations. That's all. We spent a lot of time on this.
It is a councillor's prerogative to bring an item here for a sober second.
Oh, no, she can reopen it. I'm just speaking to the item, which I think I just did.
Okay, well, okay, you're speaking against adding it to the agenda. Okay.
That's right.
So,
It's no disrespect to the councillor, but we did it.
okay, I'd like to add this to the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed?
Sorry, when we're just having.
Oh, our cameras have gone down on some of the councillors, so we can't see the vote.
Oh. Mr. Chair, while you're waiting for that, I would, now that the item is on the agenda, I would like to speak to the motion to reopen.
Yeah, no, we're having problems. We couldn't see the vote. So we may have to go verbal.
I think I saw it. It got reopened. It was 5-1.
Yeah, we lost visual on. Okay, so guys, let's do that over again so it's at least technically correct. So this is to reopen 20.28, 2691 Bayview Avenue. All those in favor? To add it to the agenda. Opposed? That is carried. And I need a second motion to reopen. All those in favor?
Councillor Cole?
Are we putting that motion on the table or are we voting on it? Because I would like to speak to it before
Yes.
we vote on it.
We need two procedural motions before we can even start with that. So we need one to put it on the agenda and two to reopen.
I would like to speak to the reopening before we vote on the reopening.
Okay.
As was just afforded another member.
Okay, let's hold that item down. We've actually we've added it to the agenda, but we haven't voted on reopening. So I think two councillors want to speak to reopening.
Right.
Okay. So 2029 representation at the Toronto local appeal body for 217 Churchill Avenue. We need a vote to add this item. All those in favor of adding it as a new item? That carries. Councillor Fillion, did you want to move the recommendation?
Yes, I'll move them. It's very straightforward. Committee, staff wrote against, committee turned down, applicant appeal.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the recommendations? Representation of the local Toronto local appeal body. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 2030, request at the local Toronto local appeal body, 113 Ridley Boulevard. Need a motion to add it as a new item. All those in favor? Oh, we'll have to do verbal. We've lost 4 councillors here, so I can't see the vote.
Weird.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go around. If the clerk could do a verbal vote on this item to add it.
Can we vote using our voting machine, our CMP?
No, we can't use it for committees. It's only council. So I can only see one of you now. So that's how bad it is here. So let's do a verbal. Oh, there's Councillor Cullen.
Or good, depending on your perspective.
Well, so everyone's popping back, almost everybody. So, okay. So all those in favor of adding it? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Cole, this is yours, isn't it? Ridley Avenue? Ridley Boulevard?
I move to reopen.
I don't think it's a reopening. I think you're just...
Put it on or add it to the agenda.
No, it already is. So would you like to move the recommendations?
Okay. Yeah, I move staff recommendation that we send representation to the local Toronto local appeal body.
Okay, fair enough. For 113 Ridley, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 2031, Duke Heights BIA bylaw harmonization. That is my area. All those in favor of adding it to the agenda? All those in favor of adding this new item? Can you, I lost you all.
We're in favor of adding it.
Yeah, so I see Councillor Cole in favor. Councillor Carroll, how do you vote?
In favor of adding it to the agenda, yes, but I'm then going to have questions on the item.
Okay.
So it's not quick.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, which item is this? Is this 20?
2031. Councillor Fillion?
Hands up.
No, I can't see anything here. Yeah, we're having some real problems here.
Can we do a voice vote then? Because then that doesn't require video.
I'd rather get these new items done with voice votes, okay? Okay, so, yeah, I do apologize, councillors. We're just having a lot of technical problems at this end. So people are popping in and out of the image, so I don't know how people are voting. So this is on 2023. It's the Duke Heights BIA bylaw harmonization. It's a request for a staff report. I have Councillor Cole in favor, Councillor Carroll in favor. Councillor Fillion, how are you voting? It's just to add it. Or maybe you can't hear me. Councillor Fillion?
Oh, shoot.
Yes, I'll vote to add it.
Deputy Mayor Minna-Wong? It's
Is
just,
the local councillor here for that?
yeah, I'm here. It's just to add it to the agenda.
Oh, you're at Duke Heights?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Councillor Robinson?
Yay.
Okay, all right, that carries. I can move it, but I heard someone say they want to ask questions of staff, or,
I think Shelley did.
okay, so we'll hold it.
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll hold it. 2032 North York permit parking, request for report. A series of wards here. A motion to add it to the agenda.
No.
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 I mean, it involves 6 wards here.
Yeah, that's why it's no.
Too much.
Okay.
Send it to city council.
Okay, all those in favor?
Send it to the third planet.
That's Councillor Robinson, Councillor Pasternak. Those opposed? Those opposed?
That loses.
I don't see any votes opposed.
Yes, you see.
Oh, yeah.
Verbal.
Cole opposed.
No to
Billy, I'm
Cole.
opposed.
The chair is in denial. The chair is in denial.
Some awesome rose-colored glasses.
Councillor Carroll, how do you vote?
Opposed?
That thing loses. Who'd I miss?
Robinson, I think.
I think Robinson was in favor.
Because her residents
Just
want parking on their
was feeling sorry for you.
street.
4-2 is pretty definitive, Mr. Chair. I think we need to move on with the agenda.
Okay, that is not added to the agenda. Forget that one. Now no one can park in front of my house. 2033, seeking clarification about Cummer Station. That is Councillor Fillion's. So I need a motion to add it to the agenda. And I can't see anyone at this point. So let's do a verbal. Councillor Cole?
Yes.
Favor?
That's a yes. Councillor Carroll?
In favor?
Councillor Fillion?
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Wong?
Yes.
And Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
And I also support it, so there we go. Okay, that is added to the agenda. Councillor Fillion, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Let's just do it. It'll only take a sec. So there, as probably most of us have heard, Metrolinx is currently looking at removing stations. Cummer is one of the stations they are considering removing. The unfortunate thing is we have nothing official on that, and in the meantime, we have multiple planning applications that are predicated on that subway station being there. We have one of them as a report today. I think it's item number 3. So it obviously makes a very big difference from a planning point of view, whether you have a subway station there or not. So some of these projects, including one massive one, has a multi-week OMB hearing scheduled for May. And so our planning staff really need an answer about Cummer Station. So this is just asking Metrolinx to send something in writing to the chief planner before the end of January.
So I just have a couple questions for the mover.
Yep,
Cummer Station is where?
Cummer and Young.
It's Cummer and Young. And it's partially built, or you think it's going to be canceled?
No, it's part of the line 1 north up into the 905. It would be the first stop heading north from Finch.
Oh, I see. That's what you're talking about. Okay. The extension of the Young Line.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a debate over which stations get built and where. And you're looking for
It
clarification.
says from Metrolinx, yes.
I'd like to speak to the item, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you've seen some designs, and they're not clear whether Cummer Station is going to exist or not, whether they're going to be built?
No, it has nothing to do with designs. It was part of the planned extension north, has been for many years, to the point where, you know, major developments have already been approved. For example, at Newton Brook Plaza, based on there being a subway right there, right where the development is. And there are other applications that are also right there at the intersection that are based on there being a subway station there. However, recently, you know, some months ago, Metrolinx began looking at removing stations, I believe, as a cost-saving measure. And so we need the planning staff, in particular, planning and legal, with all these hearings coming up, need to know, is there a station there or not? Or if you're still undecided and considering getting rid of the station, then let us know that. And in the latter case, I imagine we would ask for a postponement of the hearings, but we need an answer. Is it, because currently there is nothing official on this. It is all, shall I say, hearsay from very reliable sources.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Councillor Fillion. Now, I must admit, the screen has gone almost completely blank, so I don't see anyone, but I can hear you. Councillor Carroll, did you say you wanted to speak on the item?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just a heads up to everybody that all the video is gone, so, but we can hear you. So you can proceed, Councillor Carroll.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I simply wanted to speak in support of this motion and to give you a really good idea why we should support Councillor Fillion taking this action. I have both a current day example of why this is important and an ongoing long-standing example of why this is important. We have a long-standing challenge of planning being faced with applications on the basis of future transit. And then we go off to provincial tribunals often because they often are very intensified types of applications. And they get provincial approval, or we, based on our own plans, approve them. And now we're in a different situation where the transit itself is less in our control and more in provincial control. So here's what happens. Planning approves density and then the transit never comes. And that is the story of Shepherd Avenue East, particularly east of Don Mills. We are approving densities for an LRT that will never happen, and for a subway that replaces the LRT but won't come until 2040 or later. And so there's a disconnect there. But I have an even more meaningful example that is very similar to Councillor Fillion's. We right now have planning considering an application that you could definitely see happening if it's happening right beside the alignment of an Oriole GO station and the Leslie Shepherd subway station. That would be a wonderful thing, something that we've wanted for 30 years. But the conversation about it is going on in 3 different rooms with no coordination and no definitive answer. This will or will not happen. Here's the budget and here's when. And that puts our planning and the community and local council at a great disadvantage in deciding whether or not to support something. You don't want to put something on a site if the transit will never come. You need to know. And Transit Expansion Office really needs to start to be aligned to understand that planning needs that information sooner rather than later. And as council, we need to really put the arrow in their quiver to say, I need this answer now because of planning. And so asking for this right now before they end up in front of an LPAT is something that Councillor Fillion's community needs. And the motion says, just tell us one way or the other by the end of January. And I think that's more than reasonable. It won't be built till heaven knows when, but tell us reasonably whether or not it's even on the map. And we're giving you 2 months to do so. That's a very reasonable request of Metrolinx. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Anyone else want to speak on this item? And I thank Councillor Fillion and Councillor Carroll for clarifying this important issue. And that's what the motion is, seeking clarification. So any other speakers on the item? And you'll have to tell me verbally because I can't see a thing here. No? Okay. So all those in favor, and we'll have to run through the list again. Councillor Cole?
Yes?
Councillor Carroll?
Approved.
Councillor Fillion?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong?
In favor?
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Well, let me get a consensus here. So, members of council, the clerk is asking that we recess to fix all our IT problems here. I'm okay to continue with audio only. But what is the will of the committee? Recess for 10 minutes or just soldier on?
Well, if there are minutes, I will support the clerk's request.
Any other opinions?
Let's
No?
make a 10-minute recess here till we fix the IT situation.
Okay. Is that the consensus? Okay.
Bye.
Okay. All right. We'll reconvene at about 20 to 11.
Thank you.
All right. Log on then. So can you get into CMP or no? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Mayday, mayday. Can you hear me? Black Hawk down, Black Hawk down. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, perfectly.
Check, Mr. Chair. Check 1, 2, 3. Sibilance, sibilance.
I need air cover. Help, help. Okay, we're going to 20.1, a timed item, 9:45. Final report zoning bylaw amendment 3401 Dufferin Street and 1 Yorkdale Road. We do have a deputant for that. The deputant is Tatjana Trebek from Urban Strategies. I assume that's the applicant.
Hi, yes, good morning.
Oh, you're on the line. Okay, great. Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, councilors and staff, and any members of the public who might be joining. My name is Tatjana Trebek. I'm the planning consultant here today on behalf of the proponent. I would like to thank North York Community Planning and Transportation staff for what has been a very collaborative process. It's been a good experience working with you on this, and we've appreciated inputs in clarifying and refining the proposed amendments. I do think the final report provided by staff is very clear and summarizes well what we're seeking approval for, and we agree with its recommendations. So I'll be here to answer any questions from council if there are any. I'll keep the remarks really brief. What we've tried to do with the zoning bylaw amendment is really to bring the site into a contemporary approach to calculating parking rates for the existing shopping center. And we think the proposed amendment for using a rate rather than a fixed number will just help modernize and clarify the parking requirements for going forward, and will reflect current standards and approach used in North York and in most of the city. I'd like to note that no change is proposed to the existing parking supply at Yorkdale as part of this amendment, and that serving customers adequate and convenient parking remains a priority for Yorkdale. With that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? I don't see everybody, but anyone? No?
Nope.
Okay, questions for staff? Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Trebek.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff? No? Speakers?
Move staff recommendation.
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor?
Oh, God. I just lost the
What's
Sorry.
wrong?
Oh, sorry. I'm having CMP problems. I thought I was muted.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you, that's for sure. All those in favor? Councillor Cole has moved the staff recommendations. Opposed? That is carried. Item 20.3. Sorry, 20.2. I don't have any deputations on that. This is Councillor Fillion, 5799 to 5915 Yonge Street. Some addresses on Cummer and Averill. Any questions for staff? No questions for staff. Any speakers? Councillor Fillion, did you want to give your order?
Yeah, well, I'll move it, and just in a nutshell, it's a good news story. Shortly after the last election, staff approached me to say that the community center that was planned for the site, this was an area that previously another councillor was looking after. So staff said that the community center that had been negotiated was so small that they didn't want to build it. So I went into discussions with the applicant, who I'm happy to say was extremely cooperative. The understanding was it wouldn't cost them money or time, And we came up with a formula whereby we basically doubled the size of the community center so that it will be a fully functioning, full-sized community center in a key location. And it is at minimal additional cost to the city.
Well, that's what we like to hear these days, minimal cost to the city. Okay, so you're moving the staff recommendations?
Yes.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Timed item 20.3, request for direction report, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications, 41 Chatsworth Drive. Do we have Christine Jennings on the line? Christy Jennings.
Yes, good morning.
Oh, hi, Ms. Jennings. I assume you're the applicant, is that correct?
I'm the lawyer for the applicant.
Oh, that's even better. Okay, thanks for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning, councilors, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak today. My comments will be very brief. Our client and its consultants have been working hard to try to address staff's concerns. On November 16th, our client submitted an updated submission package to city staff, which they thought would satisfy many of these concerns. Since this updated submission was only sent to staff 2 weeks ago, staff of course have not had a fulsome opportunity to review it and provide comments. Despite the refusal report before you today, and despite our client's appeal to the LPAT, our client is still very interested in settlement. We welcome and look forward to further conversations in the future in an attempt to address the concerns raised and reach a full agreement. Thank you for your time today. Those are all of my submissions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jennings. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jennings.
Thank you.
And any questions for staff on this item? No questions for staff. Councillor Cole?
I'll move the staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved. Okay, fair enough. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 20.4, request for direction report zoning bylaw amending application 16 Kirtling Place. I have a deputant to Barney Giblon. Miss,
Yes. Can you hear me?
we're in the mountains, it seems. I don't know.
We can hear the caller, yeah.
Yes, no, Mr.
I don't hear the yodeling.
Mr. Giblon, thank you for
Can you
joining.
hear me?
Thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes. Mr. Giblon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Giblon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Mr. Giblon, proceed. You have 5 minutes.
Can you hear us?
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Can you text him or something?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear
Can
us?
you hear me?
Is the caller's volume up on his computer?
Yeah,
We-
no,
Barney Giblon.
we're trying to reach him. We can hear him. We just want him to proceed.
Proceed, Barney.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we're phoning him now. Councillor Carroll, that coffee looks great.
It's in a mug labeled relax.
Oh, relax. Oh my gosh.
put something else in it, then.
Council members, as you are aware, an application for zoning change at 16 Kirkland Place has recently been submitted to City Planning. This application requests for an official plan and zoning bylaws amendment for a proposed townhouse project, townhouse project backing onto York Mills Road. It will be much larger than any residential building in the vicinity. The city has refused a similar application almost directly across York Mills Road at 2 Sandfield Road. The reason given there were concerns with the proposed development and the potential impacts for the neighborhood character, traffic congestion, and pedestrian safety. This Kirkland Place application will have the same impacts. In particular, the neighborhood character will suffer the most. Every other property north and south of York Mills contains a single residence. We have seen the damage done to this concept when we look at Bayview Avenue, just 4 streets west. The Kirkland property is almost adjacent to York Mills Collegiate, and this type of building will have an extremely negative impact on all of the other buildings and the residences in the vicinity. And parking will also be negatively affected, especially during the 2-hour period in the morning and mid-afternoon when parents are parking to drop off and pick up their children. It will create a dangerous situation for the other homes on the street, for the parked cars, but mostly for the children and other pedestrians. There was a very heavy pedestrian traffic because there are TTC bus stops on both sides of York Mills Road. Much of this heavy pedestrian traffic consists of children crossing at the light at the corner of Sandfield and York Mills, directly beside 16 Kirkland. And the children do not just attend York Mills Collegiate, but also attend Goulet Secondary School, which was located immediately beside York Mills Collegiate. In summary, we should be very concerned about this townhouse development project in this neighborhood. Not only does this housing type not complement the neighbor's character, it will also exacerbate the already congested traffic, particularly during mornings and mid-afternoons when parents take their children to and from the collegiate. It will affect the community of single-family owners, and it will potentially diminish the value of property. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I know I'm speaking not just on my behalf, but also for almost all of the homeowners on my street and the adjacent community. Your support would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Giblon. Are there any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, if we could thank Mr. Giblon very much. We do have a second speaker on this item, Jim Guff. Mr. Guff, are you on the line? Okay. All right, there's a deputant who has left the meeting. So we're back to the item. Are there questions for staff? No. Any speakers? Councillor Robinson, did you want to move the staff recommendations? What would you like to do with this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move staff recommendations, and I want to thank Barney, and I'm sorry we didn't get to hear from Jim, but Barney, that was a great perspective and the right one, because I was at a meeting in your neighborhood last week, or last night actually, a virtual meeting with the York Mills Association, their AGM, and really the concerns that came out of that meeting very much reflect your concerns and the general community's concerns. So precedent-setting issues on York Mills. So thank you to Barney and to Jim, who wasn't able to speak today, and also to city staff for taking this position. So I'd like to move staff recs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Staff recs are being moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 5, time for 10 o'clock, status report, zoning bylaw amendment, application 5995, 5997 Yonge Street. Councillor Fillion, I do not see any deputants on the list. Are there any questions for staff? No, I don't see any requests for questions of staff. Speakers?
Yes, so quickly, this is basically a preliminary report. We did have a preliminary report at an earlier meeting, and I sent it back with the request that the applicant revise their proposal. They declined to do so, so staff are just bringing this back as a formality so that we schedule a community meeting regardless.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fillion. Staff recommendations are being moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number so I'm going to the timed items for 10:15. Residential demolition application, 2710 Bayview Avenue. And
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councillor Robinson. I don't see any.
What I'd like, yes, I'd actually like to bundle 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, simply because they're actually the same site. I'm not sure why they weren't bundled in advance of this, but I think we should bundle them, and I would put forward a motion on those at this time, all 4 of those items, because they're the same item.
Yeah, so I don't have any.
Mr. Chair, I think procedurally you have to take separate votes to actually act on each part 1.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna, why don't we just go through them one by one with separate votes. I don't have speakers on any of these items. So we can proceed.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I've got a motion. I would like to move a motion on these items. If we can't bundle them, that's fine. They are the same site, but subject site.
Right.
2710, 2722 Bayview Avenue. But, I'd like to move the first staff recommendation to deny these applications, and I'll tell you why. There's no plans in place for these sites, and if you've driven up and down Bayview Avenue recently, you've seen it's like a ghost town. There's so many vacant sites, and it's really a travesty. So until there's a plan in place and there's been a permit issued, which there has not been, we've checked with staff, I would like to refuse these demolition applications until that time. So that's for 20, 21, 22, and 23, the same position. Refusal.
Okay.
Which is the staff recommendation the first staff recommendation.
Right, okay, so what I'll do is, I think we have to take 3 votes, even though you'd like to bundle them, 4 votes. So on 2020, local councillor, Councillor Robinson, 2710 Bayview Avenue is moving option number 1, refusal. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 2021, demolition for the same address. Councillor Robinson is moving option 1, refusal. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 2022, Councillor Robinson is moving refusal. Option 1, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And item 2023, Councillor Robinson is moving refusal. Option 1, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we're now at timed item 2024, and we do have a speaker. Councillor Cole, this is your item, 633 Glen Grove Avenue. It's a denial report. Ernesta DeVito? Ernesta? Is there
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah,
hi.
Ernesta.
Hi, Ms. DeVito.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning to all, Mr. Chair, community council members, staff, and especially my own councillor, Mike Cole. I've submitted some notes regarding my application to remove a black walnut tree. I hope you've had a chance to look them over. Now, to go through my reasoning, part of the reason is that I've had both of my knees replaced, and one was just a couple of months ago. And the amount of, this is a huge, huge tree, the amount of labor that the tree requires, especially in the fall, is something I can no longer, now that I'm aging, I can no longer deal with it. And hiring someone to do the cleanup, especially the big walnuts that sometimes cover the whole yard, is just too expensive. And I know that this is just going to continue and get worse as I age. In addition, the tree requires extensive pruning. It is a huge tree. This involves several thousands of dollars every year or so. Again, another expense that I cannot afford on a fixed income. And also, I worry a lot about ice storms and windstorms. And we all see on the news what happens. And again, I fear the consequences. Now, another reasoning that I bring up is because of the pandemic. I don't go out at all. I've been shut in since March, and I know that spending time in my own backyard doing some gardening would be of great benefits. Seniors are continuously encouraged to join the benefits of gardening, which are many. And the city turning a blind eye to these considerations seems to me that it's mean-spirited. I think that the physical and mental health being of the owner of the tree is just as important as the life of the tree. And regarding setting a precedent, I know there are many, many applications to have these black walnut trees removed. And I think that many decisions out of the ordinary have been made for the good of the individual in these unprecedented times. And I think we have to consider the individual fulfillment of the owner of the tree over traditional systems and processes. And I humbly ask for your empathy in taking my situation under serious consideration. Now, you say I could move to a place where there is no tree and that I'd be able to garden, but this is something I cannot take on at this stage of my life.
Another point that I make is that this tree wasn't planted by myself. It was planted by a previous owner, and it seems unjust that I have to be impacted for the rest of my life from growing vegetables and enjoying some beneficial gardening. Black walnut trees were not meant for our city backyards. They belong in forested areas, wooded areas, on trails. And if you look at the photo, there is a photo included in the package. It is a huge tree, and its canopy extends the entire backyard of my neighbor. This property is rented, and renters come and go, and I've been the subject of much harassment in the fall because little kids, the parents worry about walnuts falling on little kids. Presently, there is a renter next door with dogs, and they're really upset with me. They expect me to go and pick up the walnuts from not only my own yard, their own yard as well. It's something I cannot do. Now, I think there is a compromise that can be reached. I could plant black walnut trees elsewhere. I'm willing to do that, wherever chosen by staff. And another point that I bring to your attention is the World Health Organization's advice to older adults living in self-isolation. Their advice is to engage in healthy activities that are enjoyable and relaxing. They suggest exercising regularly and eating healthy food. Growing vegetables would definitely bring me much enjoyment and healthy eating.
Miss DeVito, you're well over
Am I out of time?
You're well over 5 minutes. If you could just wrap up, please.
My last point is that applications to remove trees have been granted in the past to accommodate monster homes. And I've noted this in my own neighborhood. Accommodating driveways or other property amenities have also proved substantive enough to grant approval. I think the city should understand that accommodating its citizens is just as important as following established tree bylaw practices.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the deputant?
Oh, I guess, Councillor Cole, I just had a question for the deputant. Hi, Ernesta.
Hello, Mike.
Hello. Hi. Of all the reasons you've listed, what is let's say, the one that you would say is the most significant reason why you would like to see the tree removed?
The cost involved, the labor, there isn't one tree. There's the cost involved in proving I can't afford it. And it's ongoing. It's not going to be a one-time deal. It's got to happen every couple of years. The annual labor involved is something I can't, it's becoming difficult, and it's only going to get more difficult as time goes on. And I think the gardening aspect is very important. You know that during this pandemic, there's been a huge increase in our city and, with people gardening. Why am I being penalized? Why shouldn't I be allowed that same privilege in my own backyard, where I could socialize with neighbors who are outdoors? It gives me a chance to talk to people. I live alone in isolation. This gives me a chance to talk to others as well, my neighbors. We exchange greetings and talk about, how we're doing with our garden. It's a very important aspect. And this may be going on for a long time.
Okay, thank you, Ernesta.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other questions for the deputant? No? Okay. Questions for staff?
Yes, I have a question of staff.
Okay, Councillor Cole?
What is question to staff, I guess, to David from Urban Forestry, Bostock. Yes, what is the health and the state of this tree right now. How old is it, do you think?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't be able to guess on the age of the tree. There are a number of factors that affect the growth rate. I would certainly say it's in top condition health-wise, based on the photos. My staff inspected the site. I haven't. One could guess at the age being anywhere between 30 to 60 years. The deputant mentioned that a prior owner had planted it. That might give some indication as to its age.
Yes, I think it's 85 centimeters in diameter. So, what are the benefits? I know the deputy mentioned that this isn't the right place to have black walnuts, but we've had this black walnut debate many times here. What are the benefits of having the trees in urban settings on our backyards and our residential streets?
May I ask, are you asking about walnuts in particular or trees in general?
Well, yes, trees in general, but especially the black walnuts.
Trees in general, I think this is well summarized in our staff report. Trees in general provide ecological benefits. They provide community benefits. They contribute to a mitigation of climate change or warming. They provide opportunities for diverse wildlife to occur. The environmental benefits include things like mitigating a heat sink effect, carbon storage, mitigation of water loading into the municipal infrastructure system by capturing water both through the canopy and by absorbing water from the soil. I think that's a good short summary, if I might.
And what about the point about that perhaps these black walnuts should not be on residential streets, that they should be restricted to park areas, forested areas?
I could only respond by saying that if we were to accept that argument for black walnuts, it would probably be extended, or there would be precedent that we might be concerned about, that it would be extended to other species that have nuisance attributes as well, some of which are much more dominant in the urban forest, things like red oak trees that produce nuts, things like fruit trees, or anything that produces flowers or other fruits that fall, and even leaves that produce a seed crop, like maple trees or leaves falling. That would be, so I think that black walnut is one member of the city's urban canopy. It is not a dominant member. It's a relatively small proportion of trees, but I think that every tree that occurs or grows well here should have a place in the urban forest, so long as they're not invasive.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other questions for staff? I don't see any. Speakers? Councillor Cole?
Yes, as we just heard from the deputant, I think who made a very compelling request dealing with the challenges the tree does give her in terms of her enjoyment of gardening, the labor involved in picking up the walnuts, and it is obviously a nuisance to her, and she is challenged by her knee replacements, etc. I mean, these are real, let's say, worries and challenges for the deputant, who does live alone, and I do know the deputant. She is a very good local citizen and long time, great community member. So, and so we do hear her, I think, a serious request. The challenge here is that we have many requests asking for trees to be cut down, not only walnuts, trees of all descriptions, as Mr. Bostock said, whether they are walnut trees or silver maples or oak trees, etc. And we do get these constantly. And so it is not easy to weigh these pros and cons and the human, impact of these, and then the macro impact of the community, the air quality, the shade quality, etc. So it is not an easy thing for us as councillors to do. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to support the staff recommendations not to approve removal, because the long-term benefits of having our trees and especially in our city when we're losing so many is something that we have to side with. And as much as I regret not supporting the very legitimate plea of the applicant, I'm going to have to side with the very thought out scientific and professional advice of our staff in this, and not recommending it be cut down since it's a healthy, vibrant tree. So I'll move staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other speakers on the item? I don't see any.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, there you are.
Like to say
yes, I do see Shirley Carroll now. Councillor Carroll, yes, you'd like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank staff because the detail of alternative gardening advice that they gave in the report, that was new to me. To give that much advice on how to get around gardening near a black walnut tree and the solutions involved were very useful. I've never seen those written in that amount of detail into a report before. I've been on on-site visits when forestry staff have explained that, and particularly the advice on raised beds, because often, we get these requests from people who may be advanced in age and are worried about being able to garden around it. And in fact, that the raised bed feature is also an accessibility solution. And so I want to thank staff for adding that to the report. I think it can help us to review that and have it on hand when we're working with our residents on these appeals. Thank you.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Carroll. So the motion is on the floor. The City Council denied the request for a permit to remove the privately owned tree. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we have speakers on the line for items 9, 10, and 15. So if it is the will of the committee, I'd like to go back to item 9, and we'll see if Jeff Kenny is still on the line.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, so councillors, if you're wondering what item 9 is, it's 1755 Steeles Avenue West, and it is a request for staff to schedule a community consultation. Mr. Kenny, thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. My name is Jeff Kenny. I'm the consulting planner for Sanofi Pasteur. Thank you very much to Council for consideration of our item. I did hear that there was interest in the application and that consultation had been requested, and wanted to indicate on behalf of our client Sanofi that we do support the request for consultation, and also wanted to point out that our client does continue to meet monthly with the Ridgegate Ratepayers Association and will continue to do so in light of this project and requests for further consultation. So we will be in touch with Councillor Pasternak's office, and these are my brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question for the deputant, unless anyone else would like to go first. I had heard about these ongoing meetings, and we're wondering whether anyone was in touch with our office to participate in the working group, which we usually do.
I do believe that our client's public relations consultant, Mr. Paul Scrivener, will be in touch with your office as soon as we're wrapping our heads around scheduling and format of our meetings.
Yeah, because last night I received a flurry of emails when they spotted this on the agenda, and everything was a bit of a surprise that meetings have been going on, and we weren't privy to them. So it was a little awkward.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I may have misguided you or misspoken. The meetings which have been ongoing are not specifically on this project. They are general meetings over compatibility of our client site with the adjacent site. I'm sorry if I misguided you there, sir.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions for staff? Okay, I'll just talk very briefly about this item. I'll move the staff recommendations. Of course, we want a community consultation. Consultation is key. For those who don't know, this is the Sanofi Pasteur site, one of the leading pharmaceutical manufacturers in the world, and very exciting things have happened on that site. They have been picked when their worldwide headquarters in Paris looks for is introducing a new product or vaccine. They look around the world on which location is most capable of producing it, and often Toronto gets the nod, and that's this site. So they have fairly ambitious plans for this site, which includes the item before you, which would be a private wastewater treatment facility on site, reducing water consumption and sanitary discharge. So it seems minor, but it's something that is important to consult with the local community on, because we want to see the built form of the structure. We want to hear about any environmental issues, any kind of noise, how often this thing will be operating, any kind of maintenance schedules. So it's very important that we have this meeting. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to have it in person. It looks like a virtual meeting, so that the community can ask some tough questions about what the final building will look like and what its impact on the local community will be. Years ago, this was one of those odd situations where we converted residential to employment lands so that they could expand their site to take on some worldwide work in the area of medicines and vaccines. So they're doing remarkable work. Our site, Toronto's location, is doing remarkable work, saving lives worldwide. And at the same time, we do owe respect to the local community to hear what they have to say. So I will move the staff recommendations to organize a community consultation. If we have a wider catchment area, we'll certainly be in touch with planning. All those in favor of adopting moving the staff recommendations? Opposed? That is carried. Item, if we just jump to item 15. Oh, sorry, item 10. And we do have a deputant on that one, Louis Tinker from Boostfields. Mr. Tinker?
Oh,
hi there, Chair, members of Community Council. It's Lewis Tinker here from Bousfield. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. The reason why I'm speaking to a preliminary report is because there is a recommendation, in addition to the requirement for a community consultation meeting. There's also a request of Community Council to decide whether or not to have planning staff review our combined zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment in advance of the 2-year approval of the Young Eglinton secondary plan, in advance of the 2 years of being able to amend that secondary plan. The reason for that is that we are proposing a development here, which is a seniors care and living facility. It is not a residential condominium application. It will include 68 memory care suites for people living with dementia and other forms of cognitive impairment. In addition to that, there'll be a further 18 assisted living units in the building as well, with community and retail space at grade. Different from a residential condominium building, this programmatic requirement for the building results in some unusual built form requirements. And in particular, if you're familiar with residential buildings, you usually have units that are accessed off a single corridor, which has a dead end at either end of the corridor. But with a facility such as this that is providing care to individuals with dementia, there is a need to have a continuous movement of on the floor plate, and so that individuals don't stress when they come to a dead end within the corridor. The floor plate also has to accommodate staffing and communal eating and care facility. So the floor plate of this building is more of an institutional floor plate rather than a residential floor plate. And I just wanted to point that out for you in your consideration. There's also there was also a surface parking lot at the rear of the property that was associated with the commercial functions fronting onto Mount Pleasant. We have proposed there to be 3 townhouses located on that surface parking lot. We understand that those townhouses are of concern to the local community and also to city planning staff and the local ward councillor. And I can state for the public record today, and it's included in my letter, that as an applicant, we have agreed to remove those townhouses from the rear of the development. I just wanted to point out that we hope that Community Council does allow for the continued review of our application, both the official plan amendment and the rezoning application. I do want to point out that this does not predetermine what your ultimate decision will be. It's simply allowing our application to go through the normal course of public consultation with the surrounding community. It will allow for the continued technical review of our application by the various city divisions. And certainly if at the end of that process there is still concern with our application, then that would be reflected either in a final report by city planning staff or by a final decision by yourselves as city council. So we're hoping that you will go with the first option to continue to allow staff to review our amendment to the secondary plan. And we look forward to working with city staff and continuing our discussions with the South Eglinton Residents and Ratepayers Association on how we can improve this project and address any community concerns. So thank you very much for your time and consideration today, and I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tinker.
Questions of staff?
Questions for staff? Councillor Carroll?
Yes, just quickly, I'm wondering if staff want to comment on the either or. Is the timing such that we really need to take this step? I can't find in the report what the timing would be. Admittedly, when it's a preliminary report, I didn't go over every piece of it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the report gives options as the 2-year date on the Young Eglinton secondary plan would be June 5th of this year. So if the application is not moved forward, then the applicant would have to potentially wait till the end of that additional 6 months to submit that official plan amendment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That clarifies.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Any other questions for staff on this item? No? Speakers? Councillor Robinson?
This facility,
Yeah, Jay, you're muted.
I am?
No, we can hear you now. You're good.
Okay, I didn't say I was muted. Sorry about that. So I'll start again and just say thank you very much for this opportunity just to share with council, community council, the issues around this application. It's a bit of a challenge, this one. And while I'm very, very concerned about making sure we have these types of facilities in our wards, this application is a bit premature. And let me just take you back. Councillor Cole will remember this well. The secondary plans for the Young Eglinton area were approved in June 2019 by the Minister of Municipal Affairs. And as you know, when there's a new secondary plan, that's protected from appeal for a 2-year period. So the point is that we want to not avoid a rush of the official plan amendment application because we don't want to undo the work that has just been completed. And so I'm very tentative to approve this. You can see city staff has said, you know, one way or the other, and left it to us to decide. But, you know, there was extensive engagement on the Young Eglinton Midtown in Focus, extensive. In fact, we had 50 residents that were in attendance at the Planning and Growth Management Committee last term to depute on this item. And I received hundreds of emails. And so while the Young Eglinton plan was passed unanimously by our city council, unfortunately, the Minister of Municipal Affairs with the current provincial government completely overhauled the plan. Completely, loosening key policies, amending the permitted height limits, et cetera, et cetera. And that was such a setback. What a tragedy after years of work by our planning staff, the local city councillors, as well as the neighborhoods and community associations, years of works, years of meetings.
Shame.
Shame. It's disgusting. And they basically overhauled the entire plan. So what my position is now, I don't want to approve this because the community's already dealing with these impacts of this decision. And I don't want to support weakening the plan further by allowing amendments before the 2-year period. It's a bit of a precedent-setting move, and so that's why I'm opposed. And I don't think that we need to welcome these types of precedents. So bottom line is the rezoning application will still be reviewed and reported on, regardless of our decision today. So we don't have to worry about that. And you know, we know there's going to be a development on this site. It's a KFC. Currently, if it's still open, I'm not sure, but there's definitely going to be a development on the site, and this would be a welcome type of development. But I just do not support setting the precedent that the city is going to allow amendments to a brand new secondary plan. And I guess just regarding the application, the development, there's no setbacks, there's no transition. It's very bulky. It's quite imposing on the streetscape, and it doesn't step back. There's setbacks and there's step backs. It doesn't step back at all. So with the application, there's issues already, but this puts us in a very awkward place. Now, my understanding, and we heard a little bit about that, is the developer is already committed to working on a resubmission, which is great news. Very happy to hear that, with a number of changes, and including removing the townhouses. So we have time to do this properly. I also understand that one of the properties listed in the application has not been officially sold. And Sarah, you may know Sarah very well, the South Eglinton Ratepayers and Residents Association, they have submitted a letter to you outlining their concerns. And they're a very sophisticated, probably more balanced than I am, Ratepayers Association. And Sarah also raises the point, which I agree with, that the 3 properties on Balloyle Street, 323, 323R, and 325 should retain their neighborhood designation. The proposed change would impact how the angular plane is measured. So there's a lot of concerns with this development. Having said that, people are generally very much on board with the concept and the type of facility. I have unfortunately a family member just recently, just a new diagnosis on dementia, which is very unsettling for our family. But so this is an important initiative, and I fully support the concept, but there's a lot of work to be done to get where we need to go. So I will actually be, Mr. Chair, I will be voting in the negative on this. I'd like to, well, you know what, here's a better motion. I'd like to move staff recommendations 1 and 3. I'd like to move staff recommendations 1 and 3.
Okay, so the first part is scheduling public consultation, community meeting, and the second part is not permitting the applicant to amend the Young Secondary Plan prior to the 2nd anniversary of the first day of the plan came into effect. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, one and 3, exactly, yeah.
All righty. Councilors know what we're voting on? Okay.
Well, can we see any other speakers or?
Well, there's no other speakers, oh, sorry. Yes, no.
I'll speak to it, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I thought Councillor Robinson was the only speaker. Councillor Carroll to speak. Councillor Cole, you wanted to speak as well?
Yes.
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, I'm going to support the local councillor on this because, 6 months doesn't seem like a lot of time, but the issues she's outlined that she's going to have to work on with the community and with planners sounds like they're going to spend 6 months anyway. And so we don't need to set the difficult precedent. So I'll support the local councillor's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Cole?
Yes, I'm also going to support the local councillor on this because, as she said very passionately, is the community basically had almost 7 years of work ripped up in front of them by the provincial government, who overruled their work they did on the Midtown and Focus Plan, which was a very comprehensive examination of planning that whole Young Eglinton area, which includes 3 wards. Councillor Robinson's, my ward on the west side, and Councillor Matlow. And so that is why we are very sensitive to what goes on in terms of dealing with this revised secondary plan. I think it's OPA 405 and the province. But, there was over, I think, 300 changes made to the community-led Midtown and Focus plan that had a reasonable amount of concurrence from all the ratepayer groups, from all the city staff, and then all of a sudden it was just put aside, and it's causing chaos in my ward in that because of the eradication of the Midtown and Focus community-based plan, the city plan, the developers now are routinely asking for more height over what they received previously a couple of years ago. So at one we dealt with at this council where they had approved 39 stories at duplex and Eglinton, and they came back requesting 65 stories. And then I've got another development just across the street on duplex where they've been given, I think, 30 odd stories. They're going to come back for 40, 50 stories. So that's because that Midtown and Focus secondary plan that was community driven, city approved, was basically ripped up. And so that's why Councillor Robinson and myself are very sensitive to anything that deals with this area, as are the residents of the area who, again, put their blood, sweat, and tears in trying to manage the growth, and then just to be told by the provincial government that their work was not of any value. And so any application that comes that tries to alter even further the processes really raises red flags. And as Councillor Robinson said, this is a meaningful, I think, development application, but there's no way we can support opening up the secondary plan again at this very sensitive time, especially when we have non-stop applications. I mean, up and down Yonge Street and Eglinton, like I'm sure Councillor Robinson in the same boat. If we put all the applications before us, we'd have more applications than the rest of Canada combined, just in one corner of the city. So anyways, I support Councillor Robinson's position on this.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Are there any other speakers on this item? So the motion before us, put that on the screen. All those in favor? I think that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We have one more deputant on item 15. So rather than keep, it's Wade Ivan. Is he on the line?
I am on the line.
Yes. So why don't we go to item 15, term prohibitions, Avenue Road in Glencairn. Mr. Ivan, thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you for having me. Hello, Chair Pasternak, councillors, and so thanks for this opportunity to dispute on the item today. So I live at the corner, my family lives at the southwest corner of Avenue in Glencairn, and we've been here since 2011. Our daughter attends John Ross Robertson Public School, which is on Glen Grove, 1 block north. Our son catches the bus to his school in front of John Ross as well. And there are 3 other schools in this immediate area. And I'd like to share what my family has observed in the last 9 years, and I hope it can inform your decision of what to do about this intersection. What I've observed has led me to conclude that the danger of this section of Avenue Road at Glencairn is inherent in the design of the road itself, and that danger can't be fully remedied by turning and crossing restrictions at this intersection. Living at this address, and I've sent supporting documents and photos around this, I've seen accidents happen right in front of me. My family's witnessed the aftermath of some of these accidents. The accidents happen, as indicated in previous staff reports, at a frequency of 1 major accident every 8 to 10 weeks. The most recent was this past Saturday, November 28th. I sent photos about that. Airbags were deployed in the cars. EMS was on the scene. And this doesn't include the countless close calls that I've witnessed and my family's witnessed, and the many minor and presumably unreported accidents that have happened at this intersection. A majority of the accidents are happening with eastbound drivers crossing Avenue at Glencairn and being struck by north and southbound drivers on Avenue. My opinion is that there's currently no safe way for drivers to cross Avenue east or westbound on Glencairn. September 2009, there's a staff report which states, I quote, "The visibility at Avenue Road and Glencairn intersection is restricted for the eastbound, northbound, and southbound approaches due to the horizontal alignment of Avenue Road." I sent the map that was included in this report for your reference, and it shows the bend in the road at this particular point. That same report stated that the traffic study conducted at this intersection in June 2009 indicated that there's a minimum vehicular volume of 77% and a collision hazard of 100%. That warrants traffic control signals for this intersection. There was the most recent study done was in 2017, And at that point, the warrants were minimum vehicular traffic volume 83%, and the collision hazard remained at 100%. So vehicular volume actually increased in the time between those two reports, while the collision hazard remains at 100%. As the background of the agenda item today states, for the 3-year period ending in March 2020, there were 17 collisions involving eastbound left turn or through movements at this intersection that were reported to Toronto Police. And that quotes, for traffic control signals to be justified based on the collision hazard warrant, there must be 15 potentially preventable collisions over a 3-year period. Therefore, based on the collision history, which again is 17 over 3 years, and I'm quoting from the report, traffic control signals are technically warranted at this intersection. So to help inform your decision, I send you a written submission with photos to give you the personal view of what these collisions look like for residents such as myself. I send a photo of a car mounting the sidewalk directly in front of my house onto my walkway, approaching our fence, very close to going through our fence. As I said, we've witnessed high-speed accidents causing injury. The regularity of these accidents at this intersection is to the point that my family keeps bottled water and blankets in our front hall closet to help accident victims, especially in the winter. So today, you're moving on accepting a full-time prohibition of east and west left turns and through movements at this intersection to address the collision patterns. But we know that traffic control signals, which is, your studies have shown are warranted, are the better option. And I believe that this is true and necessary. Why do I believe that? I know that drivers are currently ignoring the current prohibitions with regularity, and it would be comical if it wasn't so dangerous. You can stand there at any time during the prohibitions and watch drivers go left northbound or through the intersection. And mentioning the bend, as I refer to the bend in the road here, it's highly dangerous, and this is where my personal concern as a father comes in with my 2 children at the nearby school and many student pedestrians in the area. Due to that bend in Avenue Road, eastbound drivers, if I can explain this verbally, push out into the intersection to make not only the illegal turn, but even the permitted turn when those turns or through passes are allowed. But they also encroach on the intersection to make the right-hand turns, in my case facing west, so that would be a southbound turn, that would be allowed by these new signage. So they're making the right-hand turn.
Yeah, you're well over 5 minutes, if you could wrap up.
Yep, I'm happy to do that. There's no enforcement of the current prohibitions. I've been here 9 years. I've seen Toronto Police on site twice. The day-to-day reality is that drivers are constantly crossing during their prohibited times. They'll do so if you make the prohibited times 24 hours or full-time as well. Glencairn's the only street other than Lawrence that continues from Dufferin to Yonge on a straight line. As you know, it holds too much appeal to drivers. It leads them straight to the statistically most dangerous stretch of Avenue Road.
Okay. Okay, we sort of get it. Yeah, no, we understand. It's hazardous there. Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ivan.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your articulate presentation. Questions of staff?
Yes, I have a question of, I guess it's Sean Darch, is it there, who did the report? Transportation staff?
Transportation staff here.
Oh, it's Dan Clement. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Dan. In terms of this very precarious intersection here, I guess the key question is here, you're recommending turn prohibitions, whereas the resident is asking for traffic signals. What is your rationale for not recommending traffic signals at this intersection?
Through the chair, we're not recommending traffic signals now. It doesn't mean that that's forever, but our recommendation is a much quicker and more targeted approach to the problem. The reason that the traffic control signals are warranted is not based on the traffic volume, it's based on the collision pattern. So given the collision pattern, which the deputant has noted, in conjunction with the traffic volumes making these movements, which are relatively low in comparison, these prohibitions will be a much more focused targeting of the issue, which as we've heard is the collisions. In addition to the regulatory signage, we would supplement the prohibition with a right turn arrows. You'll see a similar treatment at Avenue and Briar Hill and Castlefield. So that is staff's recommendations. It's much more targeted and quicker approach to the issue at hand.
What do you mean by quicker? I guess we can put in the signs quicker rather than going through the whole, I guess it's a 2-year process of getting traffic signals installed and operating, right?
Yes, through the chair, it is acknowledged there is a delay between the approval and activation of traffic control signals.
Yes, by the way, I'm waiting for the activation on duplex at Montgomery and Old Orchard. Anyways, so the other reason, I guess, it meets the warrants based on the number of collisions, but it doesn't meet the warrants in terms of traffic volumes going east and west, right?
That is correct.
But isn't that because people are afraid to go east and west given the danger that looms there about making that sort of east-west movement and a bit of a turn in that curve there?
That's quite possible, but I would also note that there are already prohibitions in effect during the weekday peak periods, the morning and afternoon. So a lot of the traffic volumes that would be going through at those times are prohibited. So we're just looking at the off-peak periods now when that movement is legal.
So what we could do, given that these traffic signal installations do take up to 2 years with budget and all the other requests we have for traffic signals everywhere, this would mean that we could continue to monitor the situation with the erection of the lights, of the turn prohibitions, and then still keep on track to possibly look at installing traffic signals, right?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. Speaking to staff today, we're very much agreeable to undertaking follow-up studies to determine if the prohibitions that are being recommended here today are effective and if additional measures, which could include traffic control signals, are justified. So staff are very much agreeable to that.
Okay, so how much time would you need for that assessment to be made, whether the turn prohibitions are working?
We're feeling, because as I noted through the chair, that because in addition to the signage changes, we would want to make pavement marking changes as well to reinforce the prohibitions. We couldn't do those right now. We would have to wait till the spring. And we would want to make sure those were in place for some time. So we're thinking approximately a year, in a year's time, a follow-up study would be undertaken.
And are there any other sort of temporary, let's say, bollards or something that you could put up, whereas you can't do any pavement painting because of the weather? Can we do any of those flexible pylons, whatever they are called, any other fixtures we could install immediately?
I'm through the chair. I'm not sure. We could certainly look into that if additional safety measures are required. But as I said, we would have the regulatory signs and we would have the right turn pavement markings.
So when could the signs go up?
This matter is non-delegated. It still requires city council approval. So, but it's the signs are already there. Would be modifying those to reflect the prohibitions are in effect at all times. It should be shortly after city council approval.
Councillor Cole, that was your last question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for staff? I don't see any hands. Okay, speakers. Councillor Cole.
Yes, as you heard from the deputant, this is a very dangerous part of Avenue Road, and the reason why it's accentuated here is because there is a curve there. I'm not sure how this came about historically, but it really adds to the precarious crossing of the Avenue Road east to west to Glencairn there. And as many of you know, this is a very dangerous part of Avenue Road, but I would say that all of Avenue Road is extremely dangerous because of the volume and because of the excessive speed of cars that see Avenue Road as a highway to downtown and as a highway to the 401. So therefore, that's why just recently we had the most dangerous part of Avenue Road is actually at Roselawn, Castlefield and Avenue Road, where we just erected finally the automated speed enforcement devices. They're installed at Allenby School where teachers have been hit, students have been hit. And so we finally got the cameras there, and the community is celebrating for the cameras to finally being installed there. That's just the south of it. So, and so the speed and the volume of traffic, the truck movement is extremely dangerous here, up and down Avenue Road. And here we've got an accentuated situation because of the curve. But so what I'd like to work for is to have staff, and I don't know if I can do a verbal motion here. I've had a chance to, it's subsequent to my discussion with Dan Clement, that I would like to have a report back within the year about the possibility of erecting traffic signals at that intersection after we study the impact of the turn restrictions. So if somehow we could get that made as a supplementary motion to this report, it would ensure that staff does come back as soon as possible to report on the efficacy, the workings of these new traffic turn prohibitions there at Glencairn and Avenue Road, and meanwhile keep the second option in mind for erection of traffic signals at that intersection, because it is undoubtedly one that meets the warrants. So we obviously have to do something as quickly as possible, and this alternative the staff has come up with putting turn prohibitions does help because it's an immediate impact. And as all of you know, trying to get traffic signals does take up to 2 years at least if you meet the warrants. So meanwhile, that can still be on track for that as we see how well these turn prohibitions work in the meantime. So that's what I will be supporting the staff recommendations with the request that staff report back as quickly as possible on the success of these turn prohibitions, and also look, and I'm sure Mr. Clement will have further discussions about looking for further ways of reinforcing the turn prohibitions at this intersection so the drivers don't report them. I mean, don't ignore them. And as you know, it's very difficult to get Toronto Police Services to do any moving violation enforcements. The drop-off has been dramatic over the last 10 years, and it's almost next to impossible to get any police officers to do any kind of enforcements, especially given their huge mandate all across the city. So that is what I hope to achieve in getting something done quickly, and then looking at traffic signals being implemented if these don't seem to have any effect.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Just before we go to the next speaker, if there is a next speaker, just an FYI, I have to take a call from the mayor at 12:30. And we basically have the current item, which we're just ready to vote on, and 2 other items. So I am hopeful we can finish in the next 25 minutes. Any other speakers on this item? It's item 15, turn road prohibitions, Avenue Road and Glencairn. No? Okay. Councillor Cole, do you want to move the staff recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, staff recommendations being moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We can now go to item 2028. Now, I know this created some discussion before. This is actually being deferred. It was reopened. Councillor Robinson, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're really just putting this on the agenda and then immediately deferring it to January 13th, 2021. Is that the intention here?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I know there was concern about redebating this. If the motion of deferral is on the floor.
Well, first we still need to do the reopening.
Okay, so it's added to the agenda, but apparently it hasn't been reopened.
Mr. Chair, can the clerk confirm? My understanding is it had to be moved to the next meeting because of deputations potentially.
Yeah, so that is my understanding as well. So, okay, so we have to move to reopen and then we defer it to January 13th, 2021. So, all those in favor of reopening? Okay, opposed? That carries. And Councillor Robinson, would you like to move deferral? Can't hear you. I think you're on mute. I guess that's a yes.
Yes. Yeah. If I have to move a deferral to be within procedures, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so we're deferring this now that it's on the agenda. We're deferring it to January 13th, 2021. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Robin will have the owners of the home come join us on that day? I assume? You're on mute, I think.
Sorry.
No, it's quite all right.
I understand people's frustration with this issue. I fully understand, but there's some complexities to it that I've unearthed that I want to make sure we investigate and bring forward to committee, council, North York Council.
Okay. Great. Okay. So thank you very much, Councillor Robinson. There's one item left, and that is Duke Heights BIA harmonization, bylaw harmonization. It's just a request for a report. I don't have any deputants. So are there any questions for staff? I just have one. Is January to report back? Is January realistic? If not, I can amend it.
Yes, we would recommend that January is not feasible, so if you could amend that part of the motion, that would be great.
I figured you didn't want to use your holidays working on this stuff. Neither would I. What do you think is realistic, February or March?
March at the earliest.
I'm afraid to say April. Okay, so let's, colleagues, I'll amend that to March 2021. We're asking for a report back. So those are my questions to staff.
I don't believe we have a meeting in March.
We do not? Yeah, okay, so it's actually gonna be April. Staff are gonna like that even more. Okay, so I'll amend that to April. I should really do that when I'm speaking. Any other questions for staff? Any speakers? I would just speak to move it to April 2021 and move the recommendation. Nothing more to be said. It's a report back to respond to one of Canada's largest BIAs that having some zoning bylaw issues. They need some clarification. They spent a fortune on a study they've submitted to staff a couple of years ago, or they submitted to staff a year and a bit ago, and they're just looking for some response. So we said we would move this motion. That's all I have to say. Any other speakers, or can we put it to a vote? There we go, April. Gosh, it seems like so far off. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? That is carried. I believe that concludes our business for today.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Yeah, okay. Point of order. I just wonder if I could add an amendment, reopen item 2015, the one dealing with the turn prohibitions on Avenue Road and Glencairn, because I did get the motion into clerk a little bit late as a result of the deputation that was made. I just wanted to add a small amendment to what was already passed. I'd like to move to reopen the item 2015. That's the turn prohibitions.
We'd be happy to, Councillor Cole. I know you've had a rough morning here at Community Council, so we would be happy to reopen that and look at your amendment. Item 15, term prohibitions, Avenue Road and Glencairn. Someone should read that kid a book.
We'll take the vote on the reopen?
Yeah, so all those in favor of reopening? Favor,
Okay.
opposed?
Okay, we're there.
Okay, and let's see your motion, Councillor Cole.
I think the clerk has it.
All right.
Yes, the staff be directed
yes.
to report back in 1 year's time on the efficacy and success of the new turn prohibitions at Avenue Road and Glencairn, and consider the installation of traffic signals as a future option.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? That is carried. The item is amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So I believe that concludes our business, not only for today, but for the year. And I wanted to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. Oh, bills and bylaws. I can still wish everybody a...
How about Festivus? You forgot Festivus. My favorite. Get your polls.
Yes, Councillor Cole, did you want to read what's on the screen?
Yes, move that the North York Community Council pass and declare as bylaws bills 1041 to 1050 prepared for the December 3rd, 2020 meeting 20 of the Community Council. I so move.
Right. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
There's a motion on the screen if you'd like to do it.
That the North York Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the North York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 20 on December 3rd, 2020. I've dreamed of doing this for so long.
Yes, excellent.
Dream fulfilled.
Excellent.
Dream fulfilled.
Well, you're a special participant today, so we wanted to give you that honor.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And now I can go into my speech. That concludes our business not only for today, but the year. I just wanted to thank councilors for their hard work on North York Community Council this year. And also a great welcome back to Councillor Jay Robinson. It was so nice to have you as part of our meeting today. Of course, I'd like to also thank our hardworking clerks who are here. And of course, we have our IT people who've made this all happen. So I wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. May you all be well. And I look forward to, I certainly will see you at council, but of course, at North York Community Council, we will see you in the new year. So thank you very much.
Move adjournment of 2020.
Yeah, let's get this year over with. Goodbye, 2020.
Okay,
Oy vey, what a year.
Goodbye, 2020, yes. Okay. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.